Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to McDougall's Hamburger Restaurant. For today, you should have already taken the opportunity to watch the daily video that the restaurant provided you, and you also should have downloaded and printed out the inquiry sheet today. The first half of your inquiry sheet should look just like what's on the slide. However, yours is blank in this box. So go ahead and pause the video and copy down the questions for A, B, and C that you're going to be completing today. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through some things that you might want to start out with. For question A, it says to put the countries in order from fewest to greatest. That means we want to find the country with the smallest number of restaurants first, and then the country with the largest number of restaurants, and we want to put them in order. So to help you out, I've just kind of picked out some place value charts for you. So you're going to want to compare the ones place, tens place, hundreds place, and thousands place. For those of you who are more comfortable with the place value mats, you would think about this by using the base 10 blocks that we have in our classrooms, or even on Connected if you needed to play with those. So when we go back to our McDougall's list, I see this number's in the thousands, hundreds, hundreds. So I already know that these three numbers, since they're in the hundreds place, are smaller than these two countries because their place value is in the thousands place. I go to the next column again, hundreds, thousands, hundreds. So that tells me that I'm going to look at all of the hundreds place values first and compare them and put them in order, and then I'll look at the numbers in the thousands place. What I did was I made a list from 1 to 10 because there are 10 countries on the chart. So I'm going to find the country with the least amount here, and my country with the highest amount, the greatest amount, will be number 10. So let's go ahead and try this. So I have a 9 in my hundreds and a 4 in my hundreds. Okay, so the 4 is less than 9, so far the Philippines are the least. 4 in the hundreds, 8 in the hundreds, that's too high, so the Philippines are still my smaller number. 4 in the hundreds, 2 in the hundreds. Ooh, New Zealand is much smaller than the Philippines. 2 in the hundreds, 7 in the hundreds. New Zealand is still smaller. 2 in the hundreds, 3 in the hundreds. So New Zealand is the smallest amount of restaurants so far in the country with 214. So I'm going to go back to my list and write, oops, wrong side, New Zealand. And again, they have 214. I would continue to do this all the way until I filled out number 10. Pause your video and give yourself time to put the rest of the countries in order from fewest to greatest. Okay, now it's time to create a bar graph showing a McDougall's presence in these countries. So on your inquiry sheet, you just have a blank grid, but every bar graph needs a title. We need to know what we're counting by, and we need to know it's actually being counted. So the first thing you should do is come up with a title, like McDougall's restaurants around the world, or McDougall's restaurants in different countries. Then we're going to be counting how many countries, how many restaurants are in each country. And then each of these different columns here are going to end up being your different countries. So go ahead, again, pause this video, and fill out all the labels for your graph. Okay. Your next step is going to be to take all of your data from your list in order, and you're going to have to fill it in on your bar graph. But you're going to need to think about the scale. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 boxes here, and my data goes from 214 to 1,433. So I'm going to have to scale my bar graph somehow. Am I going to count by 50s, 100, 200, 500? I'm not really sure, and that's something that you guys get to figure out, and all of your bar graphs are going to look a little bit different. Take a minute, figure out what your scale is going to be, and then you should be able to fill in the rest of your bar graph from here. The last question asks how many more restaurants in the country with the most than the country with the least restaurants. So again, this is going to be how many more restaurants are in the country with the most than the amount of restaurants in the country with the least. How many more? That's comparing two things. So you decide, should you add those two numbers or subtract those two numbers? And that should help you get the answer to the bonus question. Good luck!